Good evening. My name is Gabriel Suleimanov, and I am serving as your mediator today. I am a certified mediator trained to assist in resolving disputes such as the one before us today. I am pleased to be here to assist you in working through your issues and believe you will find mediation to be a very helpful process. Thank you for coming to be here today. If any of you have a special need during the session, please let me know now or at any time during the session. Also, please silence all electronic devices during this mediation. How would each of you like to be addressed in our session today? Landlord, how would you like to be addressed today?
Oh, you can call me Jackie.
And tenant,
You call me Nissan.
You can call me Ben.
thank you. Do you all have authority to settle and sign an agreement if one is reached?
Yes.
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 Let me begin by stating that I am not acquainted with the parties involved in this dispute. Mediation is a voluntary process in which a neutral, impartial person assists parties who want to generate options for resolving their issues. Are you all here voluntarily?
Yes.
Yes.
My role as a mediator is to the discussion and negotiation and help you capture any agreement into appropriate settlement terms. Your attendance at this mediation does not imply any admission of guilt or wrongdoing. If you would like to take a break, meet with me privately, or end the mediation, please let me know and we'll address those matters at that time. My goal is to assist each of you in communicating clearly with one another and reaching a mutually acceptable settlement of this matter. I am not here to represent any particular side and will not provide advice or guidance. You are entitled to seek representation and subject matter experts that can be called to provide information if necessary. I have no power to impose a decision on you or to decide how this matter should be settled. You are empowered with the ability to design your own solution that meets your needs and addresses your interest. Each of you sign agreements to participate in good faith. Participating in good faith means that you are entering with an open mind, that you will be respectful of the other person, and that you will listen to one another. Before I discuss the mediation process, are there any questions about what I've covered so far? I guess not. Before we begin, let me explain the process we will use. When I complete this preliminary remarks, each of you will have an uninterrupted period of time to explain what brought you to this session and to describe the problem as you see it. It is customary for the party that brought the matter to our attention to begin first. Therefore, Jacqueline, I will ask you to begin. When you have completed your opening remarks, I will ask Nissan and Ben to make an uninterrupted statement. Let's abide by the rules of common courtesy and avoid interrupting or using inflammatory language. After you have both given an overview, we will transition into a joint discussion where we can more fully discuss the nature of the workplace dispute as well as negotiate possible solutions to resolve it. I ask that each of you be thinking how you might like to resolve this matter. At some point, I may meet each of you separately. This is called a caucus or individual meeting. I will use the caucus to help clarify some concerns I may have as we talk and to be of more assistance in helping you resolve your dispute. Either one of you may call a caucus as well if you feel you would like to share something in confidence. Remember, you both control the outcome of the mediation. We may use the caucus any number of times. If I caucus with one party, I will also caucus with the other. Please do not assign significance to the length of each caucus. The information you share during the caucus is also confidential and will not be shared during joint discussion unless you specifically give consent to such closure. Confidentiality is a critical part of the process. Generally, if you tell me something in private and ask me to keep it confidential, I am bound by law not to disclose this information voluntarily. There are some exceptions to this rule, but I do not expect them to arise during our mediation. For example, if you confess to or allege the commission of a criminal offense or to an act of fraud, waste, or abuse, or that you plan to commit a violent physical act, I may be required to share this information with appropriate authorities. I want to remind you that this is not a legal proceeding. Should you desire at a later time to pursue this matter in a court or an administrative system, this session will not delay or interfere with your right to do so. I, however, will not willingly testify for or against either of you regarding the information unique to this session if you decide to pursue this matter formally. If a judge determines that disclosure of our private confidential discussion is necessary to prevent a manifest injustice, establish a violation of law, or prevent harm to public health or safety, and may be required by court to disclose our private discussion. If an agreement is reached, it will be written and signed by you, and each of you will be provided with a copy of the agreement. When it becomes a legally binding document after the necessary approvals are granted. Thank you for being here. Your presence today demonstrates your willingness to attempt cooperative problem solving. All I ask is that you sincerely agree to attempt to resolve this dispute. Agree to treat one another with mutual respect by taking one at a time and avoiding the use of profanity. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, I will now pass the floor to my co-mediator, Jennifer.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jennifer Hyman. I am your impartial mediator this evening. We're mediating your dispute to reach a resolution together. Everything you say in this room is confidential, except if it involves the abuse or neglect of a child or a threat of imminent harm to self or others. Thank you so much for coming out here this evening. Let us begin.
Jacqueline, would you like to begin? Since you're the party who brought this forward.
Sure. So hi, my name's Jackie. I am a business owner, and I also own the building in which I have my business in. It's a 2-story building. On the first floor is my beauty salon, and on the second floor, I rent a 2-bedroom apartment. I put my life savings into buying this building and all my effort and into being a successful business owner, and I've worked really hard to achieve these things. And right now, due to the coronavirus, it's been really hard to keep up with it because I've been forced to close my salon several times. It's very stressful. It's very stressful on my family. The guidelines are also very stressful to follow. It costs me a lot of money and time, to build different partitions between people and stuff like that. Just more and more expenses time and time again. And you never know, there's no end in sight to this thing. So I really don't know when it's going to end. I mean, nobody does. So, at the same time, I have 2 tenants that I rent the 2-bedroom apartment to, and they've been pretty good tenants up until now. So they signed a lease with me, but for the last 3 months, they haven't been paying me. And I'm really struggling to make ends meet, and I can't really afford for them not to pay me. I have 2 children also, and a husband, and I depend on the rental income during normal times, let alone during these times to pay my bills. And now without the rental income and the very, limited income from my salon, there's a very good chance that I could lose all of it. So I know these are hard times for everyone. I know they're probably hard times for them as well, but I can't, I can't even take them to court. All the courts are closed because of the virus. Every time I've tried to contact anyone for advice about it, they basically tell me, there's nothing to do. There's nothing I can do. It's the mayor's orders or the governor, I don't know, one of them. And I know my tenants, I can't evict them, but I know they're getting unemployment or a stimulus check or something. Like, I know they have some kind of money. And, they need to pay me as much as possible towards my rent, towards the rent. I mean, I'm going to lose everything. I could barely afford to feed my family. So, I mean, they signed a yearly lease with me. And at the end of the day, I just expect them to pay me because it's a business transaction. I understand, but I need to get paid.
So from what I understand, you're quite frustrated that Nissan and Ben have stopped paying you rent, and you're worried you won't be able to make ends meet for your children without this rent. And you also mentioned that you used your life savings to purchase this property, and it is very tough to keep up with all the guidelines for your hair salon. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's very stressful.
Would you be able to describe how you felt when Nissan and Ben told you they can not pay rent anymore?
Yeah, I felt like I could lose everything.
And how long has this been going on for? When was the last time they paid?
They haven't paid for the last 3 months.
Did they give you an explanation as to why they couldn't pay the rent?
It's basically my understanding that they're also going through some tough times right.
So have you tried putting yourself into their shoes and see how they feel?
I mean, like I said, I definitely understand that everyone's going through hard times, but at the end of the day, hard times aren't going to pay my bills. So we need to figure this out somehow.
All right.
Yes,
So
thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing your story. Thank you, because I understand that you're going through a really hard time right now in the midst of this pandemic. But you are capable of empathizing with your tenants, and we want to hear what both parties have to say to see how we could come up with an equitable resolution.
Should we start? Do you want to hear?
yes, would you be able to give your side of the story, Nissan and Ben?
Yeah, sure. Nissan, you wanna give your story first?
Sure. I'd like to start off by thanking everybody for taking their time and being here to settle these matters. I wanted just to give you a little bit of background of why I personally cannot pay. So I'm a full-time law student and I work part-time as a waiter at my parents' restaurant. Unfortunately, once the pandemic happened and the governor passed legislation saying that a lot of these restaurants cannot be open, my parents' restaurant was in Manhattan and they had to close down. At first, they thought it would be temporary, but since the pandemic has gone on for this long, they had to close down for now what seems to be permanently. By working there, that was my only source of income, and my parents would also help me make ends meet, and they would throw me an allowance every month. Since they lost their business, they haven't been able to help me out as much, and it's been a very difficult time right now. I remember having this conversation with Jackie once I lost my job, saying that at least for my end, I've been paying on time, and some months even before rent was due, I was always, I never was late. So I think that's very important that the trust still stays there. I wasn't really sure why we had to go to the mediation. I told her that once I get the money, I am graduating in May, so I hope to be a lawyer by the end of the year. And I told her that I would get the money to her, before the lease is over. So the fact that we even have to get here to mediation, I think was extra, but so be it. And we'll see what happens here.
Thank you very kindly, Nissan, for sharing your story. I understand that you are a student and that you have struggled with financial difficulty. And I was glad to hear you say that you had reached out to your landlord with information about your hardship. Did I hear that correctly? That you had attempted to speak with her?
Yes, as soon as I got laid off, I told her that I wasn't going to be able to pay the rent that month, but I guaranteed her that sooner than later, or once I have the funds, that she would be the first person I pay back.
Yes. So Nissan has explained to us that that he has his own career ambitions too, much like Jackie, who averred to be a successful businesswoman. He has his own career ambitions. He reached out to Jackie to let her know that she was a priority when it came time for him to pay rent. He just needs access to some form of income in order to accomplish that. Was there anything else you heard, Gabriel, that you think that 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 Nissan needs to hear to make sure that, he's being understood, that he has voice?
Yeah, we understood pretty well. He also said that he never missed a payment and he never was never even late. So we hear him. Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Thank
We'll be able to give the floor to Ben, please.
Can I just add that he was never late, but that doesn't really help me now.
Thank you, Jackie.
Maybe that's something that we need to think about, because Jackie's telling us that he's been reliable in the past, but there's a certain urgency about the situation right now. Maybe we could use that past evidence of character, seeing as how we're not in the middle of a trial right now, just to use that as an underlying foundation for trust. Please, Ben, please proceed with your statement.
Yeah, well, similar to Nissan, I'm also a tenant at the in this apartment. I'm actually roommates with Nissan, and my story is similar in that I too had been paying rent, making my on-time payments, and at the time I was making a nice amount of money, and everyone kind of got rocked from COVID, and it's been hard to pay for life's essentials. I had a very successful hotel that I was running, and it's going bankrupt. Just because of the times, something I've never dealt with before, and yeah, I expect the economy to get better, in the future, but until then, I'm gonna need help with paying for rent. Like at this point, like there's not much like I don't even know what to do. I could barely put milk, and bread and on my table, and being a hotel owner, I do understand, the situation that I may be putting Jackie in, but with the times, it seems like we're all in the same boat. Um, so yeah, I just can't pay the rent right now. Um, I understand Jackie's position, but at this rate, um, I'm gonna have to take out a loan or do something. But
Well, thank you very much, Ben, for explaining how this pandemic has affected you as a tenant of Jackie's. I see that, much like her, you're also trying to run your own independent business and suffering in the face of this crisis. What I wanted to ask you is, um, with your ability to put yourself in a Jackie's position, do you understand that um, her livelihood is also impacted by this COVID crisis, and just like you not having tenants in your enterprise, her not having tenants who can pay the rent in her apartments is causing her some hardship.
Yeah, but that's doing business. For example, I lost my job as a waiter, and that's something that I have to deal with. And her business is having tenants, and in the pandemic, that business isn't doing so well. So, and that's why there's even an eviction moratorium for the next 4 months, because the government understands that tenants are also hurting.
That's correct. Thank you for
But
bringing up public policy.
the difference is that they will lose nothing and I will lose everything. And what I mean by that is, if they're evicted eventually, or they tried to get a new apartment, they just go get a new apartment. If
I don't think
I don't pay my bills,
lost everything.
I lose my business and I lose my building and I lose everything that I.
Thank you,
So
thank
that's
you,
the
Jackie,
difference.
for continuing to share. My question was addressed to Ben, though, because he's in certain circumstances that are a bit unique, but ones that he can obviously share with you, Jackie. Maybe the two of you can come together, seeing as how you both have property that you lease or rent out to tenants. Is that something that the two of you have in common?
I would say so. I would say that that we are both in a similar industry.
Yes, I'm thinking maybe we could come up with some solutions around around the assets that you've built, or the resources that you have access to. Maybe that's something that the two of you, well, the three of you can collectively invent together. I'm just trying to get like the creative thought flowing.
So Jackie mentioned earlier that they received some supplement checks and unemployment from the government. Is that something you would be willing to use to pay for rent?
I have not received any stimulus checks or anything like that. I didn't apply for any of those things. It could be Nissan has, and could be he spoke to Jackie about this. I personally did not discuss that with Jackie. I have I have a giant hotel that I'm trying to run, and even if I did get a loan from anywhere, it would go into the hotel.
So I am receiving the unemployment, but as I mentioned earlier, my parents are not helping me out anymore, and I've been using that money for necessities such as food.
I mean, listen, I understand that they're having hard times, but if you're unemployed, you can file for unemployment. And as far as I heard, people who are getting unemployment are also getting an additional bonus where that's more than enough to buy your essentials and also contribute to the lease that you signed up for. I mean, you can't just live for free just because if you have something coming in. I mean, I'm not asking them even to give me the whole thing. I just think that they need to, sign up for unemployment. So that helps not only me, but that helps them too. They're going to have money for themselves for the meantime. And, they'll have money to give to me. And like I said, I get it. Trust me, we're all going through a similar thing. But like I said, they are living for free and I'm going to lose everything. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that everything I've ever done is going to go out the window. And, as long as they have a roof over their head and they're getting a stimulus check for essentials or unemployment for essentials, their life will continue. My life is going to completely fall apart if they don't, give me a little bit or some, or, most of, really, but something. So that's what I'm just trying to say here.
But why don't you apply for federal loans if you're telling us to do it? I'm sure
No,
there.
I'm not telling you to get a loan. I'm saying to apply for unemployment. And I have looked into what programs are available for small businesses, but they're telling me the wait is months and months, and I don't even know if that's going to apply to me.
Well, I understand, Jackie, that you're very, very worried. You're concerned that you don't have any resources available to you, and that you're losing out both on your commercial business on the first floor of your building, as well as losing out on income from rental payments. Now, I think that Nissan felt that you were putting pressure on him to do something that you could also do for yourself. Is it possible that the two of you can combine forces on finding resources that might be available to each of you differently depending on your circumstances? We have a law student, we have a business owner as tenants here. Jackie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely working on the resources for myself as far as being a small business owner. I'm researching them. I'm looking into them. Those things aren't guaranteed. And I get that, it seems easy to say, oh, just, go get some government program, but it's not really guaranteed. And there's a lot of, different qualifications. I might not qualify. I really don't know. But at the end of the day, every first of the month, I got to pay my bills. And if they are also filing for these programs and we're all filing, they do have some form of income. So I do feel like a portion of that should go for the roof over their head that I am providing them.
Well, as of right now, the law is, favoring the tenants in the fact that if we don't pay our rent for the next 3 months, you can't even evict us and you can't do anything to us. So unless you have any incentives, I don't really see any deals that we could make here.
I know I can't do anything, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, to live for free if you can contribute something to your rent.
Well, let's try to come up with
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at
collective
it now,
answers. Go ahead, Ben, please speak your mind.
I was just gonna say, like, why, like, as Nissan just said, take it up with the government. If you have, you got a problem with, how the government is dealing with landlord and tenants, you know, take it up with them. It's the COVID is killing everyone.
I ask that you please understand Jackie's perspective as well. I understand that as tenants, you recognize that you have certain rights. You can't be rendered homeless during a pandemic, but Jackie is really struggling right now in order to maintain what she has spent her life
Right, and-
building.
I understand.
I just need to say, this is very frustrating for me. And, I really feel like they just don't care and they're taking advantage of the situation a little too much. Like I said, I understand that we're all going through this similar circumstances and we're all struggling, but that doesn't mean that there can't be something that they're contributing. And honestly, what I do and what I apply for my personal business really isn't their business, to be honest with you. The only business I have with them is for them to pay me for what I'm providing for them. And that's it's a little frustrating to hear them tell me, well, go find some other program. We're not going to pay you. Like, I mean, come on, that's a little rude here too.
Yeah, but it's frustrating when you say that we have enough for our necessities from unemployment. How do you know what my necessities are?
Well, the two of you are in a lease the three of you, excuse me, both of you parties are in a lease agreement with one another, but you're also human beings going through a collective struggle together. Jackie is reasonably trying to request that you find some way to give her resources so that she can maintain the place in which you live and she can keep herself above water. I noticed that she's talking about her understanding. She may speak with such careful articulation, but it's clear that she is not being a harassing landlord to you. Do you understand that she's trying to work out a negotiation with you, but that she's addressing you as her tenants? Now, I would like to suggest that we speak to each of you two parties privately so that we can come to a better understanding about what it is that you value, what it is that you're interested in, and how we can use that to generate some options that the two of you, the two parties can collectively agree to. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm okay with that.
That's good.
All right, that sounds great. Now, Gabriel, would you like to speak with Jackie and then with our two tenants, Nissan and Ben?
Let's